last video I gave you was not September 2020, when it took on the offering of a PhD. All master's degree students came after this degree because of its ease, supposedly, of doing an online degree. They never expected that the degree did not exist. They never expected that there were unqualified and untrained faculty. At that time, I had discussed in full pretty much all of the action that I had taken, but also the school, Capella University, opened in 1998. They offered a undergraduate program, bachelor's, and they offered a master's degree and a PhD. By 2002, the PhD students were starting to need, they moved from regular classes into past their comprehensive exam and into their dissertation. When they got to the dissertation, it became apparent that the dissertation program phase was not there. It was incomplete. It also soon became apparent as time went on over this until like about 2007, that the faculty, which at this time were all adjunct and core. Adjunct meaning they only work part-time throughout the year. And the core would be the administrative type positions. But the adjunct were also responsible for delivering training or guidance and mentoring to the students in the PhD. This is a wholly online university, and the program wasn't there to train them to do this type of mentoring, which is for a continuous 7-year program. When the PhD dissertation research study is developed by the students, they have up to 7 years to complete the program, to complete their research. And this is unique research. It's never been done before, and that's what drives the foundation of every company in the Americas, that all this new knowledge comes forward. And that's what I left it with, that I was hopeful. I had recently contacted the office of the Minnesota Office of Higher Education and was expecting that they would respond to a complaint. And that's where we started. I sent out complaints to the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. As I said, 11 complaints. They were identical, went there. And it sat in that office from 5/18, so that's May of 2018, until I believe they were prompted by the Office of the U.S. Department of the Inspector General for Education to do something, because I asked that office to prompt or get this Minnesota Office of Higher Education moving. So finally, they answered me in 11/22, and they came back with a finding about 14 pages, and it said that pretty much they didn't address much of the issues, because their only focus was on Minnesota higher education statute, DOE violations. And our complaints focused to that matter. All the 11 complaints that went in were exactly focused to the Minnesota higher education violations statutes. So the end result of that was that they were still waiting for my student grievance that was filed in 2024, 12, from February 2012, and we're now in 2022. They were still waiting for an answer to come back from that grievance. And Capella hadn't sent them an answer. Well, there was no answer, and that's the point. No one answered our student grievances. So what they did do, though, I made sure when I filed it, that I filed it through my doctoral student advisor. I got real smart pretty early along this pathway, because I started seeing there was no reason for me to have to do 4 dissertations. And that's exactly what they forced me into. 4 dissertations, not 1. There was no answer to the grievance. And what happened after that was I was administratively withdrawn. But I had asked my doctoral advisor to file it through the system in in Capella by policy and by procedure to make sure that it just got in the right pathway. And he was very good. They called him Dr. Michael Franklin, but he wasn't a doctor. He wasn't a PhD. He was a student advisor. He really had no right to be called a doctor, and he didn't welcome that call. He just followed working in the company. And that's one of the other issues, that a lot of their faculty were not qualified or trained wholly online to run this 7-year continuum program that was called the dissertation. After that, I got the answer from them. I had also filed 25 complaints with the Minnesota Office of the Attorney General. And I filed it with Lori Swanson, who was very good in 2018. She contacted the OHE and told them it was time they got moving and that they should answer my problems and our requests for complaints. And she was then the election occurred and she did not win the election. So now we have a new Attorney General, and this is in January of 2019, that Attorney General Keith Ellison takes over. So I had been in contact with that office since this time, since I got this letter back from Minnesota OHE, because I was told to wait by the Attorney General's office until we had an answer back from the OHE. It only took 4.5 years to get the answer back. That was incomplete and not done. Then I can't seem to get an answer from the AG. The Attorney General at Minnesota. They have 25 identical complaints. And the jurisdiction between the two departments in Minnesota government are not the same. So there's no reason that AG cannot either contact me. They have sent me back a contact that said, go back to the EOSE, go back to the Department of Education, where I've been for 10 years already. So I'm not going back. I'm going forward with you. So what I wanted to explain was this all started only with the dissertation problem, only because they didn't have the dissertation phase developed. And this thing was recognized. Capella themselves recognized it with their reporting done to the Higher Education Committee, the it's called NCA HLC, the it's North Central Division of the Higher Learning Commission, who is their accreditation for Capella. They filed with this regulating agency two action projects every year. And Capella spells out in these action projects. The first one was called Capella University Faculty Engagement and Leadership Development. This is when Capella knows they have to develop the university. They know they have to. So they had started doing that on Capella opened in 1998, but they started developing the university and the faculty engagement in 2007. So they're already 10 years too late, or 8 years too late. So then this project was not completed. So then another one comes out, and this is called the next one is Fully Embedded Assessment Model Pilot. And this one picks up where that one left off pretty much, 2007. And it's completed the end of the third quarter at Capella University, 8/31/2009, 2 years later. And it's still about the fact that they're developing this FEAM, they call it, Fully Embedded Assessment Model. They start by talking about it and planning about it for several years. They plan and they plan and they plan. And eventually, they still only have adjunct professors to teach this dissertation, still at this point. And that remains that way until August 31st of 2010. So they finally hire the right professors for part-time work for the dissertation in August of 2010. Now they have to train them. So they take a group of students in a new school and a new specialization. They take the School of Public Service Leadership students. They opened this school in 2009, in January 2009, and they closed it again, this degree. They opened the degree, and it was called School of Public Service Leadership, PhD in General Human Services. And they had just hired 357 recruiters. So they got about 500 students to come into the program the first year. So they take these students through their regular courses first. And then the kids go through, they're 40-year-olds, go through a comprehensive exam that's 28 days. Okay, they have to answer 3 questions and they have to pass this. Now, these are already master's degree students. They got GPAs at least of 3.0 or better. Most of them are A students. And they failed them. And the reason they did that is now we have too many students going into this program that has to develop a dissertation pathway. They've only got 42 professors to train, and each one of those professors can probably take a handful of students with a 7-year commitment. And they're going to attempt to do this, to train them. So what happens is the School of Public Service Leadership, General Human Services the students do their regular 1.5 years, and then they do their comprehensive exam, some of them, and the ones that got through that then go into their dissertation, and they go into a program called, it's a dissertation course number 9920, and it's on university web courses, and that is called software number course room 2. And then they are stuck there for 2 years. 2 years. They're stuck there because it fails. The first time they ran the program, this little dissertation training theme, the first time they ran it with with 42 faculty, they were still adjunct and they were being hired into now part-time professors, some of them. So there was a lot of juggling of the students' committees. Sometimes they lost committee members, sometimes they gained committee members, sometimes they got replaced. Their program had to be in a quantitative method to be in this program. So if they didn't have it in a quantitative method, it had to be changed. And so for years, these students got stuck in this until 2012. The end of 2012, they shut it down. They had already closed the School of Public Service Leadership degree. It was gone early 2011. So there were no more students from the School of Public Service Leadership, General Human Services. They were gone. They were stuck in this pathway. Anyway, so this web that we developed with this theme for the students and the faculty, and it was turned then to train the entire faculty at all the university, 1,400 staff and faculty. Brand new software that's going to come out January 2013. Brand new software with a new program. It's called CR3, and it's going to train the faculty. They got all new training. It's called onboarding with their faculty, and it's going to go to there's a plan how to develop it and initiate it at every one of the 4 schools. Meanwhile, what about the students? We've been there for years. And they've taken our federal student aid at $4,000 every 10 weeks. About 4,000 every 10 weeks. It's only a 10-week program. 10 weeks. So most of us, or most of the kids that were in this thing from 2002, are $200,000 in debt. And most of them had been administratively withdrawn or given a choice. They were given a choice. They were failed at the comprehensive exam, but then they said, you don't have to leave. We'll give you a second master's instead. They didn't need a second master's. They'd already did all the regular work for the PhD. They already took their tests. They just failed them there. A students don't fail. They don't fail. They get sick. If anything happens, they get sick. So they were very frustrated, very upset, and didn't know what to do. So everybody starts writing student grievances. Well, those didn't get answered. So now what happens to these people that are stuck in this hole for 2 years? They just disappear. They disappear. Software changes are very effective at disappearing students. Who hears the students yelling? Who hears the cries from the frustration and the agony of working so hard and then getting thrown back and back and back to do the same work, just squeaking it a little different, while the university develops itself? From 2007 to 2013, the students were stuck with nobody listening. Capella needs to be held accountable, and the Minnesota Office of Higher Education has all the documents to have done that, and they did not do their job because Commissioner Olson needed this school in Minnesota during COVID. So then these documents now need to go over to the state of Minnesota Office of the Attorney General, and Keith Ellison needs to address it with me. I want to walk him through all of those 5 boxes of documents because the higher education took all my time stamps off of every piece of paper sent to copy them and send them to Capella. So they sent them to Capella. So Capella's been informed. The Office of the Attorney General in Minnesota needs to step up to his job and get this done. In addition, the research that I've done now with the University of Southern Maine is incredibly good and could help reading recovery in every public school in America, and it's a very short program. And this program, this research, the brand new research, never been done before, PhD level with 10 pages of references of studies that support it, should be implemented in the U.S. Department of Education. I tried to get it to Secretary Cardona. There was a quote taken from Bill Goss Jr. in LinkedIn website that said that it's time. The result of the nation's report cards are appalling and unacceptable, said Miguel Cardona, the U.S. Secretary of Education. At this moment of truth for education, how we respond to this will determine not only our recovery, but our nation's standing in the world. We need to implement this new program before educators start teaching reading, because this is a skill recovery. You can either have the skill to read or not, physiologically. It's not medical. It's well health. We promote healthy eyes to do some mechanics so that they can read. And there's so much. They have to be able to read along a line. They have to be able to adjust to the dashboard and back. And it's alignment and it's timing. And it can be done in 15 minutes a day for 12 weeks. This program needs to be the startup for every one of those 40% of students that can't read. Instead of his staff at the DOE stopping me time and time again and sending me back to the Office of Education and Elementary and Secondary EOEC or EOSC, every time. I've asked the staff, I've written to the staff 12 letters in the last 3 months asking them to get this through to Secretary Cardona. I also wrote to First Lady Biden, who happens to have a doctorate in education, because she will be interested, very interested in this work, because it's highly effective, very simple to do, and every school, elementary and high school, these kids should have this opportunity to read and be peer equals. The problems in the school today are because the kids are angry. The kids are unheard. The kids cannot read. So let's get them reading. Let's get them to be peer equals, and let's give them choices. And it's so simple to do with this work. And that's what the solution is after we get Capella held accountable.